Hello, everyone. How are you doing? We hope you all are staying safe. I'll be starting this section with a music titled, Is This the Life? And I hope you guys are gonna enjoy this.
This is the life you're living for us. This is the future you're living for me. This is the life you're living for me. Oh, this not peace and live good things for us. We pollute our environment, it's smoke in the air, chemicals in the waters and the sun. All the storm, the refuse everywhere. All this happened because of carelessness. It is the life we're living for us. Is this the future you're keeping for me? This is the life we're living for me. Oh, it's like this, I live good things for us. And Papa, this wife, mother, the husband, children, daughters, and orphans in the streets. All this happened because of love. With all this, and good things for us. Is this the life you're living for us? Is this the future you're keeping for me? This is the life you're living for me. Oh, please don't this, I live good things for us. Give back to my children, I sold all of them. Love my youth is different for each class. All this happens because of my love. This not this, I live good things for us. This is the life we're living for us. This is the future you're keeping for me. This is the life you're living for me. Oh, this not this, I live good things for us.
Thank you, Splendor. Hello, everyone online. That was Splendor singing for us. He is a peer mentor from COVID under 19. And thank you, Splendor, for your fantastic singing. Now, let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Children's Right Festival 2021. This is season 2, which, I am Sophie Guan from Taiwan, and I will be your host today. I will be assisted by Moses. Moses, would you mind introduce yourself too?
Thank you, Sophie. And I'd like to start by saying Happy World Children's Day to all the children and partners of children around the world. My name is Moses Engadu. I'm from the International Young Catholic Students. Today is such a special day for the COVID under 19 initiative. Firstly, this initiative brings together child rights activists, organizations, and children to do primarily one important thing to ensure that we have meaningful involvement of children in the response to COVID-19, but also in influencing what happens to the world after that. And this event is special because we are here to have conversations, we are here to make connections, and most importantly, we are here as a community of child rights actors. And we are pleased that you've joined us. And over to Sophie, our wonderful host.
Thank you, Moses. And now I would like to invite Christine to share some housekeeping rules with us. Christine, will you?
Thank you so much, Sophie, and thank you, Moses. And once again, welcome to everyone for being here today with us to celebrate International Children's Day. I'd really like to emphasize that this is a child and youth-led event. As part of COVID under 19, we've been working with children and young advisors from across the world, asking them how they would like to celebrate today. And so this particular session is about being creative and claiming your rights. And we're so privileged to have everyone involved. And it's so important that we make this space safe for all of us, and particularly the children and young people that are here on the panel as participants, as artists, but also those who are participating as attendees, and also anyone on social media, because we are being live streamed on Facebook and the session is being recorded. So in terms of keeping children and young people safe, we have a code of conduct for this event. I'm going to pop that code of conduct into the chat box, and we'd really appreciate if everyone upholds those requirements in the code of conduct to make sure that we refrain from any behavior which could be harmful to any children or young people today, and that we maintain an environment of respect and dignity across this event and all of our events as child rights activists. So as organizers, we will also reserve the right to remove anyone from the session in case we have any concerns about any behavior. So please be notified of that. And we also do have safeguarding focal points on call, such as myself and others, in case you need to raise any concerns about your safety or other people's safety. All of that information is in the code of conduct, which I'm putting in the chat box now. So thank you for keeping this a positive, safe environment for us all. And without further ado, I pass over back to Moses and Sophie.
Thank you, Christine. And again, everyone, welcome to Child Rights Festival 2021. This is season 2. And as Christine has said, this season is mainly about creativity. Now, let's get started. Okay, our first segment will be about digital advocacy. And in this segment, first, we are going to be watching a video. Let's see what Vio has to say. And let's welcome Vio.
Hi, fellow young leaders and everyone. I am Vio Visnanda, an 18-year-old child rights activist from Indonesia. And in this second session, I have prepared a video regarding some tips on digital advocacy and hope you all enjoy it.
Hi fellow young leaders, my name is Vio Visnanda, an 18-year-old child rights activist and a peer mentor from COVID under 19. So in today's celebration on World Children's Day, I will be sharing some of the tips on digital advocacy and how to nail them. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first step to any advocacy strategy is to establish a clear objectives and goals that you hope to achieve. And you will need to set the SMART goals, which are... So the SMART stands for, first of all, S, which stands for specific. So you gotta define your goal as clearly as possible. Second is measurable. So you gotta put up the figures on the goal that you're working to. Third is attainable. So you gotta make sure that your goal is attainable both in terms of the resources and the capabilities that you have. Fourth is realistic. To make a goal realistic, you gotta make sure that you're both willing and able to work toward the objective. Fifth, last but not least, is time bound. So you gotta ground your goal within a time frame. And the second tip is to define your audience. So, who does your message need to reach? Well, obviously, we want to reach as many people as possible, but by prioritizing which audience in our digital communication, then we could enhance our relevance, and then we could also improve our reach, and then finally, we could do it more effectively to make our resources to the best of possible use. And the third tips is to create a compelling content. So what is the key messages that you need to convey to your target audience, and how will you do it? So sharing stories of real people affected by your cause will be one of the best possible compelling content that you can create. So for example, COVID under 19, we make a post, a videos, and sometimes also a podcast we've gathered, and real stories of ourselves and our journey towards the child rights activism and how this pandemic have affected children. And the fourth tips is implementation. To achieve result and credibility, you gotta prepare to commit a time to produce your content, to promote your content, and then to engage with your audience. You gotta decide on how much time that you could realistically devote to the implementation. Do you have time to write regularly, or would it be better to make a short video instead? So those little implementation are the one that will achieve your goal. So, those are several tips regarding digital advocacy. And to conclude, digital advocacy helps amplify advocacy efforts by potentially reaching more people in more places faster than ever before. It works best when it is aligned with your existing offline tactics. Think about how you can integrate your everyday advocacy activities with your digital strategy to maximize the impact. Don't expect digital advocacy to work right away. It is a strategy that will succeed long term rather than be a quick success. If you want to see real result, you must be prepared to commit to it long term. Finally, keep in mind that social media are constantly changing and evolving, and you will need to keep evaluating your strategy to ensure you are maximizing your opportunities to engage meaningfully with your supporters. So we are at the end. Those are the several tips that I could give you in order to further enhance your digital advocacy efforts. So I hope it helps in your digital communication, and I wish you all the best. See you next time.
Okay, so that is some tips on digital advocacy that I could share. And in conclusion, digital advocacy brings up so many advantages if we utilize it properly. For instance, I am no graphic designer, nor am I a video editor, but with so many resources that we have in this digital era, I learned autodidactically to edit video, to do basic designs, copywriting, and etc. And if you wanted to explore, there's so many platforms available on the internet that could make it easier for a non-graphic designer like me to learn. Like for example, Canva. Everybody could use it regardless of whether they have a basic in designing or not. And talking about design, art, and any sorts of creativity doesn't really need a structure that we have to follow. It's all about your creativity. So feel free to explore what you want to create. And once again, digital advocacy is a strategy that will succeed long term rather than be a quick success. And if you want to see real result, then you must be prepared to commit to it long term. And I hope on this beautiful day of World Children's Day, the young leaders that maybe are watching this right now could be more motivated to create your own arts, your own designs as a media to deliver your messages to the world. And last but not least, happy World Children's Day to all of us and to all children worldwide. And that is
Thank
all
you,
for me.
amazing Vio. And today's focus of this session is celebrating children's child rights activism through poetry, fine art, film, and design. And as you just heard from Vio, where she tells us how to do digital advocacy, what are the essence, what are the essentials, how much do you need to commit to it, how do you need to be that. We have another example from our peer mentors about how you can use digital advocacy. Ladies and gentlemen, now we're going to watch a video animation from Januka and Amrit. and then we'll continue our engagement. Thank you.
Namaskar. I'm Amrit Rizal, a child rights activist from Nepal. I'm involved in COVID-19 initiative as a peer mentor.
Namaste, I'm Januka Zamar Patel, a child rights activist from Nepal, and I'm involved in COVID-19 initiative as a peer mentor. On the occasion of National Children's Day 2021 in Nepal, the Ministry of Women, Children and Senior Citizens, in collaboration with the National Child Rights Council, organized a nationwide video making competition on the topic Child Rights in Federal Nepal. And we are happy to share with you that I, Januka, and my colleague Amrit won the first prize.
This animation video incorporates how child rights can be protected, preserved, and promoted in federal Nepal. It plays a significant role in digital advocacy, awareing children about their rights in an enjoyable digital manner. This video is a sustained use of technology to galvanize people towards a cause focusing on child rights. Thank you.
अमृत कति धेरैपछि भेट भयो त कता हिँडेको नि
बाल क्लबको बैठकबाट योजनाहरू निर्णय गरेका थियौं र वडाको योजना छनौटमा तिनै योजना पेश गर्न हिँडेको
हामी बालबालिकाको योजना पनि समेटिन्छ र
समेटिन्छ नि अहिले संघीय नेपालमा बाल अधिकारलाई धेरै प्रोत्साहन गरिएको छ हामीसँग स्थानीय सरकार सञ्चालन ऐन 2074 कार्यान्वयनमा छ जसको परिच्छेद 3 दफा 12 को ग अनुसार जनप्रतिनिधिले काम कर्तव्य गरी बाल अधिकारको सुनिश्चितता र बालमैत्री स्थानीय शासन प्रवर्धन हुनु पक्का छ
संघीय नेपालमा बाल अधिकारलाई धेरै महत्त्व दिएको रहेछ अघि अनि कुनै बालबालिका हिंसा शोषण उत्पीडनमा परे भने चाहिँ के कस्तो व्यवस्था छ
नेपालको संविधानको भाग 3 मौलिक हक अन्तर्गत धारा 39 को 10 वटा उपधारामा बालबालिकाको अधिकार समेटिएको छ ती अधिकार विपरीत काम गरे कानून बमोजिम दण्डनीय हुनेछ
ओहो यो त धेरै राम्रो कुरा पो रहेछ निर्णय प्रक्रियामा अर्थपूर्ण बाल सहभागिता गराएर सिङ्गो देशलाई नै बालमैत्री बनाउन सके नेपालको समृद्धिको आधार अझ बलियो हुने थियो होइन र
पक्कै पनि जानुका बिना भेदभाव बालबालिकाको सर्वोत्तम हित र सर्वाङ्गी विकास साथसाथै उनीहरूको विचारको सम्मान र पूर्ण सहभागिता समेटिने गरी राज्यको नीति संरचना प्रणाली कार्यप्रक्रिया र व्यवहारमा बाल अधिकार सुनिश्चित गरी संघीय नेपालमा बाल अधिकार संरक्षण र सम्वर्धन हुन सक्छ
थोरै समयमा पनि धेरै कुरा सिक्न पाए त्यसका लागि धन्यवाद अमृत तिमीलाई हतार थियो होला
ठिकै छ नि भेट एकदमै रमाइलो र सन्देशमूलक भयो अब म लागे है
बाल अधिकार बालबालिकाको मात्र नभएर सबैको सरोकारको विषय हो
यसको प्रवर्धन र सम्वर्धनका लागि हामी सबै जागरुक हुनु जरुरी छ
Okay, thank you, Vio and Patrick and Jaluka. Thank you all for your fantastic sharing. And now we have a short live Q&A. If anyone has any question, whether it's to this topic, digital advocacy, or is to any specific speakers, please comment your question in the Q&A function, and we will answer it as soon as possible. And actually, myself, I has a question, and this is a question to Vio, and I want to ask, how does advocacy has changed during the past few decades? Because like children and young people are spending more and more time on the internet. So how does that influence our way of saying things? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Sophie. It's a really great question, actually. So I think the changes that we see during this period of time, of course, any kind of advocacy have become a digital advocacy, but I will explain from the very first time I did an advocacy, which is the offline advocacy in the forms of socialization and etc. I think every kind of advocacy have its own up and down. For example, if we do it offline, then I think conversation with the stakeholders, with the duty bearers will be much more easier because they could see us directly, and like talking to them will be like from heart to heart. I think that's for me personally. I love doing advocacy offline, but doing it online have its own advantages. For example, that I have explained in the video, that we could reach far more people in every part of the world, not just like one part of the world, and it is spreading faster than ever. So I think it is the advantages of the digital advocacy, but nevertheless, both forms of advocacy should be aligned so that our messages could be more effective and impactful.
Thank you, Vio, for those wonderful response. Keep coming to the audience, and all of us keep coming your questions. You can use the Q&A button, but you can also put it in the chat. And I'd like to ask Januka, we have a question here from Valerie saying, what did you use your digital advocacy for? Did you achieve any success? Would you like to share?
Thank you for the question. This is really a very good question, and we have done a lot during this pandemic. Firstly, we were not much into digital advocacy before the pandemic, but when COVID pandemic came and we were all stuck inside our house, our school were closed, everything was closed, and we used technology to advocate. Because as an activist, I have been working for child rights since 6 years. But these 2 years have been really very tough, and being inside a home was something very challenging. And we thought of doing something for children, for promoting, for preserving child rights, even during the pandemic. So what we did is we started a campaign called Lakshadweep, which means which was for youth and children to raise their rights, to ensure their rights during the pandemic, extra for not for just academics, but also for extra co-curricular activities. We run the campaign, and the campaign is still in progress. It is still doing a lot of things by organizing different sessions online, webinars and discussion, and even panel discussion with youth who are trying to make change in the society. Not only that, previously we just saw the animation video that I and my colleague Amrit, we created a few months ago for the competition, but that video really made a real great change here in our country, because the video is of 2 minutes, but we have tried to explain about the policy, about our law, about how child participation can be preserved in federal Nepal. So people really don't read theoretical things these days, but in digital manner, if we try to visualize the thing, if we try to show the things that that really interest people, then I think they can be attracted towards our work. They can really be influenced. And today's generation, they have been very deep down to use technology. Like social media can influence anyone these days rather than our speech. So we have been doing so many things, and we will do all the great things together in the days to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Januka. And it seems like we don't have many questions coming in. Just to acknowledge, Alexia suggested that we know there are some great animation softwares. It's also great to use animation and art, especially if you want to remain anonymous. And as Vio was telling us, you don't need to be an expert. She's not a graphic designer, but you can simply learn everything if you commit to do the work, but also unleash your passion, but also your creativity. Thank you to Vio and Januka for the excellent videos and animations. And now over to Sophie.
Thank you. Thank you all, and thank you, Moses. And now let's get on to our second segment, which is about thinking outside the box. Sometimes trying different ways to see things or even to do things really does help what we are doing right now. So let's hear what our first speaker had to say about this.
Thank you so much, Sophie. And it's really an interesting idea to think outside the box, which essentially moves us to poetry, because poetry is a way to express out of the box. And I'm here. So namaste to everyone. I'm Prathit. I'm 19 years old, child rights activist from India. And I'm also a reluctant poet. Reluctant one because I don't write very often, but then when I write, I have in mind the ideas of rights. I have in mind the ideas of impunity, poverty, peace, etc. So today I'll be narrating 3 short poems. I'll start with poverty and end with peace. And let's see how this goes. So my first poem is on poverty, and it goes like, poverty does not lie solely in beggary. Impunity does not show solely in bruises. Injustice does not prevail only in judgments. Crime does not happen only in stealthy darkness. Law needn't be upheld in the wake of lawlessness. The nature of a million lives cannot be seen within privileged walls. To see poverty, look into the eyes of a laborer who is short of a day's wage. To witness impunity, talk to the child who was sent to work for the family and never saw home again. To witness crime, walk on the street in the broad daylight and watch untoiling men making the world a terrible place to live in. To know what a million lives live through each passing day, look outside the window or break the walls that constrict your view, and for once, contemplate the world that we live in. That was my poem on poetry. The next is Our Shared World. This is a poem titled Our Shared World. I am one and you are one. We make this world. We stick to it, we change it. The power of us, the strength of you can rock the world in all its might. My kingdom comes, your queendom comes. We rule a world which belongs to us. We lay the foundations of its moral soul and remember to keep life above any morality, strength above any weakness, speech above any silence, tolerance above any conflict, nature above any civilization, kindness over any malice, thought over action, gratitude over favors, and importantly, your queendom over my kingdom. To build a nation is a strife. To maintain its values is a higher one. The strife is of its citizens, each of whom gets to choose to accept its values or to walk towards the ruins of one's own home. That was my idea of a shared world that we live in. And lastly, I'd give you an idea of peace by questioning, what is peace? A world full of words, a strife towards power, a canker of slogans, a divided belief, a doubtful intuition, a charade of selective visions, a violent transformation, or a world of exclusion, a need for change, or a summary, or a definition. Perhaps peace is something beyond this world, something which you and I constitute, construct, and destruct together. Thank you so much. That was my idea from poverty to peace, and I hope that it left a thought in your mind to resonate with. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pratit. The power of words can never be replaced. It is amazing that we have such inspirational young people that are helping to bring hope to the world at a time when the world needs much. In today's time, we are faced with a health crisis, we are faced with an educational crisis, we have an economic crisis, we have a social crisis. So we need to galvanize so that we can stand together. Inspiration is one of the things that we strive under COVID-19. We recognize that all our children and young child activists are faced with obstacles each and every day. And one such obstacle is fear. Allow us share a video, an inspiration from one of our peer mentors on how you can overcome your obstacles. This is Januka sharing her life's experience, but most importantly, we also celebrate diversity. So this video is in Nepali, but with English subtitles. Thank you.
तिम्रो मन्तव्य राखिदिएका छौं है भनेर आयोजकले जानकारी गराए। यो एक वाक्यले मेरो मुटुको धड्कन प्रकाशको किरण भन्दा छिटो दौडिन थाल्यो। बरु पृथ्वी ध्वस्त हुन लाग्यो भनिदिएको भए डराउँदिन थियो होला। एकछिन त अक्क न बक्क भए। नै नबोल्ने म भनेर डराउँदै जवाफ फर्काए। बाल क्लबको प्रतिनिधित्व गरेर आतिथ्य ग्रहण गरेकी थिए। सायद ठाडो जवाफ फर्काएर गलत गरे, तर मञ्चमा गएर मन्तव्य दिन्छु भन्ने हिम्मतै गर्न सकिन। परिवार अनि विद्यालयमा सजिलै आफ्ना भनाइहरू राख्न सक्थे, आफ्नो विचार व्यक्त गर्न सक्थे। विडम्बना, चिन्दै नचिनेकाहरूको बीचमा ठडिएको त्यो मञ्चले मलाई जिउँदै निल्छ भन्ने खालको डर मेरो मनमा उब्जिएको थियो। डरको हावाहुरीले मेरो बाटो रोकेको थियो, मेरो बाटो छेकेको थियो। त्यसैले हिम्मतै गर्न सकिन। डरपोक, तिमी त साँच्चै कति धेरै डरपोक रहेछौ भन्दै गरेको एकजना साथीको आवाज मेरो कानमा पर्यो। पुलुक्क उसलाई हेरे, ऊ चुपचाप थियो। उसको त्यो डरपोक शब्दको तीरले मेरो स्वाभिमानलाई निशाना बनाएको थियो। हेर्दा हेर्दै मेरो स्वाभिमान त घाइते पो भयो। स्वाभिमान बचाउनका लागि मञ्चमा गएर बोल्नु बाहेक मसँग अरू कुनै विकल्प थिएन। हात खुट्टाहरू काँपिरहेका थिए। अझ मेरो मुटुको धड्कन त मसँग छँदै थिएन, डरले चोरिसकेको थियो। तैपनि बिस्तारै मञ्चतर्फ आफ्ना पाइलाहरू बढाउने हिम्मत गरे। म अत्तालिए पनि। थाहा छैन मञ्चमा मैले माइक्रोफोन कसरी समाते। मुखबाट आवाज त निस्क्यो, तर के बोले याद छैन। अस्याङ खस्याङ गर्दै छोटो मन्तव्य दिएर मैले डरको हत्या गरिदिएँ। मेरो डरको अन्तिम संस्कार पनि त्यही दिन त्यसै मञ्चबाट भयो। त्यस दिन उसले डरपोक नबनिदिएको हुँदो हो त सायद म जिन्दगीभरिका लागि डरपोक नै रहन्थ्यो होला। मलाई तिखो लागेको उसको बोली मेरा लागि अमृत बाणी साबित भयो। डर कसलाई लाग्दैन होला र? कसैलाई बिरालोसँग डर लाग्छ त कसैलाई मुसोसँग। कोही एकान्तमा डराउँछ त कोही भिड देखेर अत्तालिन्छ। कसैलाई आगोसँग डर लाग्छ त कसैलाई पानीसँग। कोही सपना देखेर डराउँछ त कोही सपना टुटेर। चालकलाई दुर्घटनाको डर हुन्छ त व्यापारीलाई नोक्सानीको। डरको कुनै सीमा नहुँदैन, डरले संसार ओगटेको छ। सायद अझै पनि डरका केही अंशहरू मेरो मनमा छरिएर बसेका होलान्, तर अब जीवित भने कहिल्यै हुन सक्दैनन्। किनकि स्वाभिमान बचाउनका लागि, भविष्य बनाउनका लागि अनि सफलता अँगाल्नका लागि मैले डरको हत्या गरेकै हो। बेलैमा डरलाई मारेर साहस जन्माउन सकिएन भने जीवनको कुनै अर्थ रहँदैन, जीवनको कुनै मोल रहँदैन। त्यसैले सतर्क रहने पालो अब तपाईको हो है।
Thank you. Okay, now let's get into our third segment, which will be our last segment for today's season 2. And this segment will be about international partnership, which is a very important topic. We all know that children's rights is a work mainly about children, but meanwhile, it's something that couldn't be accomplished only by our power. So it is very important to learn how to cooperate with different people from different generations. So let's hear what our first speaker, Valorant, has to say about such an important topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie. And before we hear from our first speakers, today is a demonstration of intergenerational partnership, where we have children and adults working together, not only for change, but also to celebrate milestones. And in this segment, we are blessed with two amazing speakers, and I'd like to take this moment to introduce them. Firstly, we have our wonderful, I think somebody said our grandmother, but I believe that our speakers are what we call CAH, Children at Heart. So we have Amihan. Amihan is the Regional Executive Director of Child Rights Coalition Asia, and has been an amazing champion for children's rights, but also for children, and with over 30 years experience. And we'll also be joined by with Valerie. Valerie Khan has over 25 years experience working in justice with children, child protection, rule of law, and she had led several civil society organizations in Pakistan. So today's panel is with excellent champions for children. And I want to remind all of you that you can ask questions. At the end of this, we'll have a live question and answer session led by our awesome Sophie. But in the meantime, you can actually start putting your questions in the Q&A feature of this webinar or in the chat. Now, to kick off, allow me welcome Valerie to share her inspiration, words, and thoughts. Valerie?
Hello, so good evening, assalamu alaikum, everyone from Pakistan. So I am supposed to share with you all an idea which was given to us by children. But I think what we've just seen in the beginning of the session is actually already explaining what I'm going to talk about. So I'm just going to give an example of how children from SAARC, from South Asia, have done it and how we have articulated that in the Pakistan context. So in 2016, Amihan was actually with us. So the South Asia Initiative to End Violence Against Children organized a child conference, a consultation. And we asked children at that time, one of the concerns that children had explained when we were talking about enforcing child rights was how to stop child sexual abuse and exploitation. And the children said, well, we think that one of the key effective ways to raise awareness and also to demand decision makers to take action and tangible action to protect us better is to use Activism. So they came up with this concept of Activism, which means art and activism. And basically what they wanted to say was that in order to raise awareness for the public at large, or for the justice actors, or for the law and policy makers, to explain to them what was the problem faced by children and what we wanted them to do, arts is a very effective thing. And we've seen with you all how by using your creativity, your amazing talent, by singing, by playing music, by writing poetry, or by using even digital tools and making animations, you can indeed very efficiently convey that message. So we learned from you, and what we did, we created this Activism campaign, and we focused on using it to demand a better improved justice with children, which means better judicial solution from the police, from the judges, from the lawyers, from the prosecutors, for children who were accused of a crime or children who were victim or were witnessing a crime. And that was turned into two things. So first we had a web movie series, a mini web movie series. We had a truck arts activism where we had huge trucks in Pakistan. It's very famous, with lots of colorful painting and messages shared by the children painted on it. We also had theater, concerts, dance, painting, drawing, and an online drawing competition, and an online story writing competition, because it's the same as what you mentioned. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we had to be creative and find solutions to allow children to express themselves. And some of those artistic activities to actually push decision makers and adults basically to take decisions and actions demanded by children led to very tangible results. So for example, during this Activism campaign, where there were messages by children on the trucks, children in the middle of a concert also painted messages and talked to the Pakistani Federal Minister of Law and Justice and said, we want a child court in Islamabad. And as a result, after 3 months, the federal cabinet approved the child court, and it is now functioning in Islamabad. And it is taking, the child court is a space where, which is like a little bit like a nursery environment. It's very colorful. There are video linkages, there are toys, and when the children have to talk to the judge, they are not frightened because the judges are well trained and they can be in a separate room. They don't have to face abuses or whatever. So it's a child-sensitive manner to take the children through the justice system, basically. Additionally, we also work with youth, with young students from the National College of Arts. And what happened is that they made this web series to explain what child justice is about, and they actually had children actors in the movie. So interestingly, what we did, we had to train the young artists, the youth, on child safeguarding standards, and then they applied those child safeguarding standards in their own web movies. We also had a video song. You've just suggested that at the beginning of the session. So we did one actually with, again, young artists and also some children to raise awareness about, again, child justice and how rehabilitation was the way forward for children who were in conflict with the law. And the concept which was developed in the video song is now being studied by the government of the Khyber-Pakhtunkhwa province to be translated into a tangible structure. So the lesson we learned from children basically was that we had not only to listen to children and take their voice into consideration, but also go back to them to be guided on how to conduct those artistic activities, how to involve them into those artistic activities. And we saw that this led to very tangible examples. We have millions of viewers who saw those web movies, those videos, and those documentaries. And they made a difference because the Pakistani government right now has put justice for children as a priority agenda, along with child protection in their national action plan, basically. To give you an example of that, what I would like to propose is to show you the video song, which is called Urja, which means fly high, fly away. And you will see what kind of artistic and creative video song was produced by the youth, with the children, for the youth, for the children.
पतंग उड़ाने के गाने के झूलों पे उड़ने के दिन मेरे छिन गए। हंसने के, खेलने के, लड़ने के, पेड़ों पे चढ़ने के दिन मेरे छिन गए। कैसे दौड़ूं बंद दीवारों में उड़ना, मैं चाहूं सितारों में। हक नहीं क्या इतना भी सितारों पे आसमां भी सुन तो है क्या कह रहा हक है जिंदगी पे उतना ही जितना के सबका तेरा भी है ये जहां बादल काले छट जाएंगे दिन सुहाने फिर आएंगे उड़ना पतंग की तरह हक है जिंदगी पे उतना ही जितना के सबका तेरा भी है ये जहां बादल काले छट जाएंगे दिन सुहाने फिर आएंगे उड़ना पतंग की तरह हक है जिंदगी पे उतना ही जितना के सबका तेरा भी है ये जहां बादल काले छट जाएंगे दिन सुहाने फिर आएंगे उड़ना पतंग की तरह
Okay, so this was the example we wanted to share with you of how at an intergenerational level, we can think out of the box and use your talent and your creativity to spread a message with your words and with your ideas. And we hope that this is only the beginning of much more because it works and we have and you have so much to teach us and to tell us so that we can do better.
Okay, thank you, Varen. And our next speaker is Amham. Well, let's welcome Amham.
Hello, good evening again. I don't have anything very complicated to say. I just want to say that making art is very much a part of the human experience, and that's why it's so powerful. And the art can express so many things. So I just want to show you, just show my screen. You'll see above me a series of blocks. Each one of them has a name of a child, but this will eventually be a very big one because this is just a fourth of the names of the children who were killed during the drug war in the past 3 to 5 years. So we are looking for a way to remember the names of the children who were killed in the last 5 years because of the so-called drug war that has resulted in a lot of extrajudicial killings of children. So this is just one of the ideas we're experimenting now on how do we talk about how do we make sure that we don't forget, because art is a way for us not to forget those that sometimes authorities would like us to forget. And art is also a very personal thing in the sense that it also it's not just the children who are affected by what is happening. And many of us, especially people in our generation who have been very affected by those who, all the trauma that we listen to, the situation of children. So for us, it's also important to be able to have art as a way to deal with the stresses that we go through. So I just want to show you, this is one of my quilts. oftentimes people see me in meetings and they see me stitching, and I'm listening and I'm trying to digest everything that's going on. But for me, it's another way of being able to listen and remember to what's being discussed. So I just want to say that art comes in many forms, and it can be through the spoken word, through music, and it can also be with putting things together like sewing or making quilts. So historically, the use of needle and thread to express ideas has a very long history in the activist world. For example, women who were still fighting for the right to vote during the time, they used to stitch their messages into their umbrellas, for example, because they were not allowed. It was hard for them to have access to the printing press, for example. And then in Chile, during the time of Pinochet, we also had the experience that mothers whose children had been taken away or widows had to put together pictures to help them cope with what was happening and at the same time talk about what had happened in their country. And lately, what we've seen also is that, for example, with ECPAT or End Child Sexual Exploitation, in the Philippines, we also made quilts so that the girls could express what they felt or what their dreams were if for their recovery. So I think there are many forms of art that could be used for both children and adults who work with children. And I think when we do that, we also help to heal, because all the time when we listen to what's happening to children, those who listen, they're also affected. And we have to find a way to continue to see the beauty in life. Otherwise, we get very drained, and there's not much we can do when we are already drained and we don't feel that, there's any hope. So I just want to say that for me, being able to stitch has really helped me to put my life together and to be able to work in a stronger way for children. So thank you for giving me the chance to be part of our discussion tonight.
Thank
You'll
you.
notice I have my grandchildren with me because it's a weekend, so my grandchildren stay with me.
Thank you, Ramihan. Thank you for your sharing. And now, once again, if anyone has any question and to this topic, intergenerational partnership, or to any specific speakers, please leave your question in the Q&A function, and we will answer it as soon as possible. I have a question myself, actually, and this is a question related to intergenerational partnership. I want to know, what do you think that is the biggest obstacles nowadays on working in intergenerational partnership, and how can we overcome those obstacles? Thank you.
Are you asking Amihan?
Both of you, actually. Depends on which who we want to answer.
Well, if you don't mind, Val, I'll just go ahead. For me, one of the obstacles, I think, is the idea that you need a lot of resources to be able to work effectively with children in a creative way. And I think that while it's necessary to have some resources, you can actually start from where you are. So in my experience, my colleagues have actually worked with recyclable materials so that children can make a collage, for example, that helps to describe the situation that they're in. So that's one of the challenges, but I think really it's not a very big challenge. What is really more necessary is for us to, as I think what Januka said, is to let go of the fear, the fear of exposing our ideas to the world. I think once we help each other to overcome that kind of fear that can actually paralyze you. You know, if you're not if you don't have help to overcome that kind of fear, I think that being together helps to break those barriers that are in our heads and sometimes affect the way we can work together.
Thank you, Amihan. And we have shared on the chat a beautiful article that was written by Amihan around her work and quilting. So it's to take a moment to read. We have questions coming in, and one question that I would like to ask Valerie. The question is, why, we listen to children. So I would like to make sure that I read it as it is. Yeah. And the question is why. Yes, why the penalty on the perpetrator against the innocent children is not severe and takes so long to be processed?
It's a very good question. So it depends. In general, so first of all, the question is, there are penalties to people who harm children. But the question is it the severity of the penalty or the certainty of the penalty? Are you sure that you are going to discourage people from harming children because you're having a very strong punishment, or just because you're sure that if you harm children, you're going to be punished? So that's one aspect. And it seems, if we look at research, that it's rather the fact of ensuring that you actually hold people responsible, people who harm children, for what they do, which works. Hello, we have a new guest. Hi. Otherwise, in Pakistan, at least, there are severe punishment, but the problem is that you need very good investigation and very trained police officers, and they are not always there. And also, the parents or the children are also sometimes very frightened to speak and to report when something happens to them. So we need to work on having police officers and so that's why we worked on child courts and judges and justice systems that make sure that children are protected, that they are not ill-treated during the investigation and the trial, and that they will be also protected from any external risk when they face the justice system. So we're working on it. It's work in progress, and we're all together in this.
Thank you, Val. Vio, do you have a question for our wonderful intergenerational champions? And after that, we could just go straight. So thank you so much, our speakers, and would like to thank everyone who has been contributing. We are now moving to the section for wrap-up, but we want to begin by having a word from each of our panelists, a word of inspiration, and then we will continue. So I'll start with Amihan, any words of encouragement. And just to note, it's World Children's Day, and so your grandchildren, this is their day. They should actually be sitting there with you and joining us in the celebration. Amihan?
Microphone, please.
Amihan, unmute yourself.
Sorry, yes, I'm so sorry. Well, first of all, I want to say again that I'm very happy to participate, but I think it's always very important to listen to our children. We might not always agree with what our grandchildren are telling us, especially if he wants to spend so much time watching videos all the time. But I think it really informs us about what we really have to get done, and help to provide the atmosphere that we have to provide for our children so that they really grow. Because I think we were all children once, and we know that we might not understand everything right away, but if we really make an effort, it really helps to make the situation better.
Thank you, Amihan. Can I ask all the panelists to put on your cameras so that people get to see you? And hopefully, because the celebration, you'll all be smiling. Pratit, what are your...
Thank you, Moses. And I feel that especially with regard to this segment, I'd like to say how important is it to include the sense of the inner sense that you have in the form of art when it comes to activism, as Amihan highlighted, and as I resonate that, you know, when it comes from within, when the emotion of fighting for children's rights comes from within, for me, it has often come in form of poetry. For me, it has often come in form of, you know, words which I felt like writing in form of prose right now. And that is something which I feel is a voice that comes from within the heart. And I feel that everyone must pursue this because, you know, I'm pretty sure that, and I have this certainty that, you know, whoever's passionate about something from within their heart, it comes out in the form of art. It comes out in the form of creativity. For me, that art form is poetry. For Amihan, that is stitching. For others, it's, you know, different forms of arts. And that actually symbolizes how deeply entrenched our passion, our goal, and our, you know, way forward is. So with regard to this segment, I'd definitely like to say how important is it to pursue art and display our fight towards rights of children, human rights through the pursuit. So that's what I had to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pratit. Valerie, what words of inspiration do you have for our children, young people, awesome, amazing child advisors, peer mentors, and children around the world?
Well, I think first I'd like to say thank you. I think I'd like to thank them for everything they are giving us, for everything they're sharing with us. I think it's an incredible generosity and an act of love, you know, to agree to, because, you know, they spend a lot of time also. We need to understand that they are youth, they are children, they go to school, they have their family, they are not paid when they do all this. It's not easy. And maybe it must be very frustrating because all of us do not always understand what they mean, or we are not as adults always ready to take into consideration as much as we should what they're saying. So I would like to say, believe in yourself, you're brave, you're amazing. And it's through you that the change that this world will become a better one. And we are here with you to support you in that.
Thank you. And while we are at it, we have a question. What are your tips on making sure children, especially survivors of violence, tell and share their stories through art in a safe environment? Amihan, would you like to come in, and Val as well? Oh, Val is typing an answer. Excellent. Amihan, would you like to respond to this? What are your tips? Yes.
Yeah, I think the tips are basically, you know, to look at what's possible and expand it. Because sometimes you'll only be told like you have only 1 hour, but maybe you look at how you can really make use of that 1 hour and then stretch it. And the same thing with, you know, looking for different forms, because each child is different. And each child might be more comfortable in one form more than another. So to look for ways to create this space for children to feel comfortable about speaking or writing or singing or designing clothes, whatever. These are different ways. So it's always really looking at what you have and what's possible and then stretching it. Thank you.
Thank you, Amihan. Splenda, if you are still there, what message do you have for the intergenerational champions, but also children on today's World Children's Day?
So thank you everyone for being here today. So the point is, most times the way we tell our story might be a little bit different, but for us to create that change as children, we need to use various methods. And for me, I think singing is among the methods by which we convey our own idea, our own feelings, our own thoughts to world leaders. So music, children involve themselves in music, they play music, they use that that as a means to tell their story and to inspire other young ones.
Thank you, Splendor. So we have very many ways to tell our story. Vio, what is your message to all of us today?
Okay, so I want to point out that art isn't supposed to look pretty, it's supposed to make you feel something. And I will absolutely agree with Pratik that passion is the universal language that everybody would understand, even though, well, maybe for me, I'm dancing, I will do traditional dance and stuff. Maybe you don't understand my culture, but through my expression, through the emotion that I'm showing, then you will probably understand the message that I'm trying to convey. So everybody right now is thinking about, especially on digital design, people are thinking about how to make it look aesthetic, how to make it pleasing to the eyes. But the most important thing is to convey what your emotion really are into this art, into your production and your creation. And once again, happy World Children's Day. I hope all of the young leaders who are watching this right now is really motivated to give up your best in order to create something to convey your message to the world. Thank you.
Januka, you overcame one obstacle and you also used digital tools. So what message do you have for us today?
So yeah, let me sing two lines, like it is not the song, but it is a poem from one of the famous poet, Nepali poet. So yeah, नेपाली हूँ कठिन गिरीमा चढ्नलाई सिपालु बैरी नै होस् तर छु बहुतै दीनमाथि दयालु. So it means that I'm Nepali and I'm now ready to deal with any obstacle that comes to my way. And even if it is to deal with my enemy, I will be very kind to poor. So what I want to say is, as we are talking about art, art can be in any form and we can express whatever we want through art. Either it's poetry, either it's drawing, dancing, singing, anything can be expressed. And if we can actually advocate using art. So I think it is very necessary for younger generation to learn about the importance of art. And yeah, nothing much to say, but there are challenges in any field. Every field contains challenges, but good practices can never be hidden because of the obstacles that we face in our life. So thank you for joining us and happy World Children's Day to all of you once again. Thank you so much.
And today we're having such a wonderful, so this is like the fun session. So you're hearing beautiful voices, amazing music, and we still have some line for you. But before we do that, it's very important to listen, to all of you who have been part of this. And I have put a link on the channel, it's on the chat, it's a Padlet. Please go in there and share your expressions. How has this day been to you? What this event are you enjoying? What are the emotions? What are the reactions? And above all, what inspiration do you want to share? Just also to remind you all, we have, do follow our COVID under 19 channels on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And because we want to make sure that you're part and parcel of this new movement for social change. And before we close, we have a surprise for you. And the surprise is a beautiful song from COVID-19 to all the children of the world, to all our partners. And now, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Kristen. If you're not clapping, she's not coming on. That's the idea. So wherever you are, whether we can see you or not. And we also want to take this opportunity before Kristen starts to thank our partners, to thank all the panelists and all the speakers for making this day such an amazing special event to celebrate World Children's Day. This anniversary that we're celebrating is more than 30 years old, but we're still in the journey for child rights. We also want to thank our behind the scenes. We have Isabel, we have Sheikh, we have Indy behind the scenes, making sure that our videos and our things are working. We have Luca, so if you guys can put on your cameras so people get to see you. And Chris, are you ready to take away?
As ready as I'll ever be, Moses.
Over to you now.
Thank you so much. And thanks to you, Moses. Thanks to Sophie as well for brilliant moderation of this session. Thanks to all of our panelists, Amihan, Val, Vio, Pratit, Januka, Splendor, and to everyone for being part. So yes, please put on your videos if you'd like. This is a song that I wrote yesterday to honor all of you who I have had the absolute privilege of working with for the past year and a bit. So this song is called Through Zoom. And if you know the words, you can sing along. Okay, so. Can you hear?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I'd rather be in New York. I'd rather have a destination, but these bonds that draw us close, they transcend the nations. And I really wish we could meet, really wish we could be together, but life works out in strange ways, so I'm looking out for finer weather. But till then I'll come through Zoom, through Zoom, through Zoom, through Zoom. Through this screen I'll feel connected to each and every one of you. Through Zoom. And the ironic thing is that we spend so much time talking about governments, how they're responsible to uphold their obligations and international human rights law, especially with respect to children. And that's why we're here. Happy Children's Day! But we can never forget that besides governments, there are all these tech companies, and all these companies have responsibilities to keep us safe and to uphold our rights as well. But we see time and time again how they put profit before people. Sometimes that makes me feel so helpless. Like now, we're relying on Zoom to bring us together when we can't be in the same room. But where's Zoom's responsibility to uphold children's rights? Where's the accountability to ask them to do so? And how can I claim my rights to invisible people that I don't know? All I can try to do is to use the master's tools to dismantle the master's house. And who never, and who never ever imagined that we create such a community, joining forces across the world, hashtag COVID under 19, standing up for children's rights and committed to creating change. That's what brings us all together here on World Children's Day. Even though it's sing along! Through the screen I'll feel connected to each and every one of you. Through Zoom, through Zoom. Thank you very much.
Big round of applause. And I think we can try it. We can just try the part of through Zoom. So everybody who can put on their microphone, let's do this together. The last part only. Okay, everybody put on your microphone and we're going to do the chorus part.
Through Zoom.
Through
1, 2, 3, 4.
Through Zoom, through Zoom.
I cannot imagine that you guys are this smart.
Through Zoom, through Zoom.
Through the screen we are connected to each and every one of you.
Through Zoom, through Zoom.
Thank you. You know, today's event has been about conversations, you know, talking to one another, speaking. It's also been about connections, building a beautiful connections, but most importantly, as demonstrated by, you know, Christian's song, community. The COVID-19 is a community of child rights activists, and it's lovely that we can celebrate and share this together. And now over to our awesome host, Sophie, for our closing. And after which we shall invite you guys to Wednesday's after party next week so that we can celebrate this event, but also observing that this is not the end. We still have one more session where we invite every one of you who is here connected to join for the third session, which is really a call to action. Let's take these conversations from words to action, and this is what we are going to be focused on in the next session. So, Sophie.
Okay, thank you, Moses, and thank you all. Thank you, whether you're a speaker or a listener. Thank you, Christine, for your performance. Thank all of our speakers for your fantastic speech today. And again, today's topic, point is about reimagining a better world for every child. And of course, this could be done in many different ways. And all of our participation today is a kind of way to make this world a better place. So again, thank you all for joining us today. And we invite you to join our season 3 too, which will start in about 40 minutes. Am I right? So again, thank you all for joining us today. You're all here to make this world a better place for children. Thank you all our speakers. Thank you all our listeners. Thank you all. Bye-bye. Happy World Children's Day.
Happy World Children's Day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Through Zoom, through Zoom.
Through Zoom. Through Zoom.
We have a song. We also
let's start with Moses, and then it's a chain. Let's make it a chain song.
Oh yes. So I'll start. Through Zoom, through Zoom. Who is taking it from me? Thank you, everyone.
Through Zoom, through Zoom. Isabel.
We need the full lyric.
We will get there.
Yes, Christine, even though I don't know to sing, I want the lyrics so that I can see and
So the idea is we are going to sing the chorus, but we each call on someone, pass the ball. So I start, I pass to someone. So when you finish your part, you call on someone. Is that okay? All right, 1, 2, 3, let's go. Through Zoom, shake.
Zoom, through Zoom, Splendor with his guitar.
Splendor, don't break the rhythm. You have to all be connected for us to continue. Is Splendor on?
Yes.
Splendor, we're not hearing you.
Through Zoom.
Who have you passed the phone to?
Through
Sorry, but it's been very late. I think I have to leave. Sorry.
Who is leaving now?
I'm Sophie. I think I have
see
to
you
go
again
first.
through Zoom. See you again through Zoom.
Okay.
Okay, see everyone.
Bye.
For those of you who can join, the third session is starting in about 40 minutes. And for now, get a glass of water and stretch your legs. And the practice session, I think, is about to start in maybe 10 minutes, and then we come back. Have an awesome Children's Day, and you can eat candy on my behalf, everywhere you are.
Thank you, and well
Thank
done,
you,
everyone,
Moses.
for the great
Thank you.
session. I will end the meeting now.